great evening, great evening. I am Nicole D. Jones, and tonight we have Financial Friday. So I just wanted to come on here and talk to you all briefly because everybody hears, or we all know about credit. We all know that your credit score is needed. We all know that credit is king. It's better to have a good credit score than to have $800,000 in the bank, okay? I was posed a question, which one would I take? An 800 credit score or $800,000? I'll take the 800 credit score, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's gonna come a point, because if you actually look at the way that things are now, we have Bitcoin, we have all these different types of currency. It is not about paper money anymore, okay? So when we think about having cash on hand or cash in the bank, that is not what really establishes you to be able to get financial wealth. It's not what establishes you to be able to get anything to leave for legacy. What brings you that is property. What brings you that is ways of receiving asset. Cash is not going to do that, but your credit and your credit score will. So the first thing I want to tell everyone, because just statistically speaking, there are more people with a low or poor credit score than there may be with someone who may have excellent credit, okay? So the first thing I want to tell you, or make sure that you know, if your score is below 640, don't sit and think that, oh, my score is low, I can't buy a home, or my score is low, I can't get a car, or anything like that. Because honestly, the whole purpose of a credit score is to allow a lender to know how you are with money, okay? That's the only thing that a score is really used for. It is an algorithm, it's a number that's put together from 300 to 850, and it will tell someone who is willing to lend you money whether or not you will pay it back, and you'll pay it back on time. But the reality is life happens. So the first thing I want to tell you is, if you have a low score, if you have a poor score, if it's below 640, don't count yourself out, okay? A lot of what's wrong with us is we're not educated. We look at the number and we know that we don't have a number that maybe is expected from a bank or a lender if you try to go get a car, a credit card, anything like that. But what becomes the problem is no one educates us to help us or understand why our score is like that, number one, and how do we correct it. We just look at the number. It is supposed to be a reflection of our behavior with money, but life circumstances does not dictate your behavior. So that's the first thing I want you to know. I want you to be encouraged. Know that it's not the score. Know that if it's low, it does not necessarily have to take you a year to get to a point where you can have asset. And a lot of times we think that. That is not true. So that's the first myth that I do want to break, because that is a myth, okay? I also want to tell you the breakdown, if you don't know, of what creates your FICO. 35% of it is your payment history, 30% is credit utilization, 15 is the length of history, 10 is new credit, and the other 10% is credit mix. So this is why I could have a 450 score, you could have a 450 score, and the way that we would have to go to increase it to 640 may be two separate things, depending on the mix, okay? Which is why it's important to make sure that you pay your bills on time, at least the minimum, and that you don't overextend, or if you have a line of credit, that you don't max it out all the time. A lot of times we've been taught, pay your bills on time. So you have a credit card, you're paying your bills on time, but you don't understand why your score is not going up. Well, it's not going up because your credit utilization, which is 30%. So when you look at the breakdown, 65% of what your score is every month is based on payment history and how much you have used. So for example, if a bank gives you $300, you want to keep at least 70% of that credit limit available. You really wouldn't want your amount to go over, I'd say $70, okay? What that shows is I can lend you money and you won't just take it all and spend it. And then when you pay at least the minimum, it tells me that you will commit and you'll stay committed to the agreement that you made. So out of this score, and this is why I tell people, when they come and they talk to me about their credit, or they're like, I'll never be able to get anything, the score does not define you, okay? If life happened to you and your score went from an 800 to a 500, that doesn't mean that you went from 800 to 500 as a person. It means that life happened. So what you have to do is first educate yourself all the time, okay? Because like I said, 65% of what's reported is payment history and utilization. So out of 850 points, 192 and a half are scored every month for payment. 165 for credit utilization, 82 and a half for the length of history, 60 for new credit, and 65 for the credit mix. So I just wanted to come on and share this with you, because anyone who's out there right now with a low score, look, I started with a 451. I had a 451 score when I had my first child at 20, when I had my second, which was 20 years later. Yes, 20 years later, but that's a whole nother, we'll talk about that another day. But 20 years later, being at that same score, first time, shame on you. I could blame it on being a young mom, but at 40, I had to get my life. So I went and I got help with my credit. I was able to increase my score over 150 points with the first round, which is what took me to the place of getting educated. So again, tonight, I just want to encourage you. And I know it's tax season. Tax season comes. We're about to get our taxes done. We get this refund check. We want to go. We got all these dreams of what we want to do with this little bit of money, because the money gonna run out, y'all. Okay? So you got to be able to invest in yourself. You got to be able to get to a place where you get your score together, where you're able to get into a place of stability and educate yourself on credit, okay? If you'd like more information, please go to the website, www.wecareaboutyourcredit.com. We will give you a free 15-minute consultation, okay? We'll pull your credit. We'll be able to go over it with you and put you on a healthy, realistic plan. But again, if you don't leave with anything else, know that your credit score does not define who you are. Society may try to do it, but that is not so. And anything that is low, it's fixable and it's repairable. As I always say, stay humble, focused, and positive. Remember, every day is great. It's up to us to keep it that way. I hope that you guys have a great evening. Smooches.